So we should probably start by doing an intro, but I'm a little worried about you throwing me under the bus on this whole timing thing, man.
I wouldn't do that. I've got it, don't worry. I'll do one quickly. Planets have been terraformed and colonized in less time than it's taken Todd to build this guitar.
I don't know that I have any defense against that, man. You're probably right. But terraforming planets is a good thing, though, right?
It's definitely less complicated than your guitars.
Yeah, maybe. Hey, everybody, and thanks for joining us. Welcome to another collaboration between Gio and myself.
So from time to time we set each other guitar building challenges, and this one, well, in fact all of them usually come about by a conversation that we've had one day, and this was about Les Pauls. So we discovered that we both have exactly the same issues with the Les Paul, which is that we love the way it looks and sounds, but we have the same list of problems when it comes to the feel.
Yeah, it's ergonomic issues that we were looking to solve, and I really think we've done that.
Well, having seen yours, because we've shared photos now of these builds, I'm really happy with mine. I can see that yours, you've done a lot of the same things, but before we take a look at them, why don't you just talk us through the spec of yours first?
Yeah, man, absolutely. I built a 9-piece curly maple and wingay neck. I separated that with veneer. I used a Macassar ebony fretboard with canary binding, brass tube fret dot inlays with crushed citrine colored opal. I flooded that with super glue.
What did you do for profile and thickness then?
I went from my standard. I went from a C to a D. I've got a 21 millimeter thickness at my first fret, a 23 millimeter thickness at the 15th. I put a 12-inch radius on the fretboard like I always do. A 7-degree back angle on my headstock. Truss rod, always adjust at the heel. One of the things I did was I mitered my the end of my fretboard binding, and that turned out really nice. I'm really happy with this neck. For the body, I used a 2-piece black Limba body blank. I capped that with Buckeye burl. I filled the inclusions in the main inclusion in the Buckeye with bright yellow epoxy, which now looks kind of green yellow, but I'm really happy with it, and we'll talk about that shortly. But that's pretty much mine. You know, I've done all the routing, everything's ready to go. All my profiling's done on the side of the body, everything's sanded. She's ready for finish for the most part.
From the looks of it, you've done a bit of beveling and some comfort carving on yours too.
Absolutely. You know how I am, man. I always do that. I think when we first started this thing, I was in heavy debate with myself over whether or not to actually carve this top. But the bevels won out again with me. I just like that look better, you know?
Yeah, I get that. And it looks like you have routed for humbuckers, and we've gone for the same idea on the controls, which is a single tone and volume.
Exactly. And, you know, I'll have to be told to do something different than that, really, Gio. You know, the one volume, one tone, that's how I like a guitar. The simplicity, it keeps the control cavity from getting too cluttered up, and I like the cleanliness it lends to the top. Let's have a talk about yours. Take us through your specs and let us hear what you've used.
Okay, so we've gone chalk and cheese because you've gone stunning and spectacular, and I've gone stripped back and simple. In fact, my initial plan for this one was not even to use a top, just to use a single piece body, but I have actually used a top on mine, and I'll come on to that in a second. So I've used a single piece neck, which is a Kaya neck, with the dual action truss rod that's adjustable at the nut, and I've used the most incredible Zero-Cote fretboard that you sent me about 7 or 8 months ago. My God, it is incredible. To the extent where I had real problems figuring out what I was going to do for the fret dots, because what I didn't want to do is to cover it up too much. So I had an idea, because I'm using flame maple binding on this, I had an idea that I was going to use some flame maple inserts that come off the binding, but I thought it covered up a bit too much of the grain, so I've gone with small 3mm dots for my fretboard markers. I've gone with my standard neck thickness, which is just under 21 at the first fret to 23 at the 15th. I've gone for a perfect C profile, which I do on everything now unless I'm asked to do something different. I love it. And I've stacked the heel with the same wood that I've used on the fretboard. So flamed maple and Ziracote is what I've used just to put a stack on the bottom. And actually, I really love the way that it looks. And for the body, I have still used what I was originally intending to use, which is a single piece Okame body. But I've also used an elm top, because the body itself, I mean, I wanted the whole thing to be simple and I'm really happy with it, but that one piece of Okame just didn't have enough figure in it to make it look pretty. Do you know what I mean? I didn't need a lot. And I was also using flamed maple binding for both the neck and the body, and the body is double bound, which I absolutely love. It's the first time that I've done wood binding on a guitar, and I was heat bending it, but it went so much easier than I thought, and I really love the way that it looks. I mean, at the moment, it's very simple. The whole thing looks quite plain, but as soon as I get some finish on here, it's just going to explode. I think that adds a really custom touch doing the wood binding, and I love doing it. Okay, Todd, let's take a quick close-up look at yours. Give us a twirl and a roll, and then we'll have a quick look at mine.
See that? It is incredible. My God.
Yeah, it's something else, man. I am so impressed with this. You know, this is my first burl guitar, and I really love the neck transition on this guitar. I think the black limba pairs perfectly with the wingay and the maple. I really love how that kind of lends itself to that whole center focal point on the back, you know what I mean?
I think it looks stunning, and the top, that burl, it looks like marble. It is fantastic looking wood.
It does. My wife even made the comment about that. And, you know, she was close on to the marble thing. Let's see yours, Gio.
Okay. I'll go slow.
I love that top, man. And the back is so clean.
Thank you. It was kind of, the whole idea was to look clean and simple, but I'm super happy with it. I love it, and I love the elm. It's the first time I've ever used elm, but it's beautiful. So maybe we should have a chat about the problems that we had, you know, the ergonomic issues that we were trying to fix and how we dealt with those. So do you want to talk us through your list first, or maybe we'll go back and forth, in fact, because I know we've basically got the same list.
So I think the first thing I dealt with on this guitar, my first thought anyway, was the headstock break angle. And I've used a 7-degree break angle, as I always do, and I carved a volute. There's about 4 millimeters of clearance beyond the bottom of my headstock on the back if I lay this flat down on the table. It would hit the volute before it would hit the tip of the headstock, which is another reason I use that. It's mainly a strength issue for me. So that's pretty much my reasons why I did the headstock the way I did. Why don't you take us through your headstock and tell us what you did to solve those same issues? Because I know we talked about that up front. We both had that on our list.
We did. And what I've done is to do my normal thing, which is that everything is built on a parallel plane. So I've done a flat style, if I can hold it up to the camera there, the flat style headstock, albeit still a 3x3, it's the Fender style. So I don't have any break angle at all on mine. It literally just dips down and it swoops. That's the style that I go for on these. And the next thing, which I think was quite a big deal for both of us, in fact, because I suspect, in fact, I know you've done a really similar thing, is how the neck attaches to the body and the neck heel, and really not finding that comfortable on a traditional Les Paul. So I've done a full width neck tenon, which goes pretty much to the end of the neck pocket, to the end of the neck pickup cavity, and I've done a seamless carve into the body. And because the body is a lot thinner than a traditional Les Paul body, I think I've ended up around about 42 mil on the body. It means that when you reach from the back of the guitar to the front, right up to the 22nd fret, it's absolutely comfortable. It feels fantastic, and I think you have probably done something similar.
I did pretty much exactly the same thing. I have done the seamless carve myself. I used the full width tenon. Mine does not go quite as far into my neck pickup cavity as yours does, but if you'll see right there, I've got fretboard overhang so I could cover the truss rod nut. And the same thing, I've got full access up to the 22nd fret. My body is also 42 millimeters thick. I will have to say that after doing this, that has ended up being my biggest issue.
Has that changed? Have you weighed yours?
Yeah, mine at current, it weighs 6.42 pounds. I think I'm going to wind up below 8 pounds, which was my goal.
Yeah, because that's something that quite a few people, it wasn't something initially that I had a huge problem with, but from the comments on our intro video, it's definitely something that a lot of people have issues with the weight of a standard Les Paul. And I think I came in at 5 pounds 9 ounces in its current state.
Yeah, so you're lighter than me, but like you used Akamai, I used Black Limba, so I think that probably has a lot to do with it. And I think that leads us to the next issue, which was the string height off the body.
It is indeed, and I can see already, well, I haven't done it yet, but I can see we have the same plan, which is that you're going to recess, or you've done a recess for your bridge.
I have. We're both using the same kind of bridge on our guitar, which I had to debate on that because I considered a couple of different bridges for this guitar. However, none of those were a tune-o-matic. I considered a Shaler Signum bridge. I considered the Godo wraparound, a 3D6 from Shaler. And I ended up choosing the Godo bridge, which I think you're using as well. I'm pretty sure that bridge has already got a 12-inch radius built into it. And if you measure up from the top of the body to the top of that saddle at the center, you're looking at about 13 to 14 millimeters, I believe is what the measurement ended up being.
It is indeed, yeah. And it is also a 12-inch. That's partly the reason why I chose it too, because we've both gone for the same fretboard radius. So, and what I'm planning to do, and you can tell me whether this is exactly what you've done, is that I'm going to recess it far enough, because those things, those wraparounds, can be lifted up a lot on the post. So just to be safe, I'm going to do the recess so that I can sit the bridge in there and a straight edge will sit flush on top of the frets and land in the actual saddle. And that way I know I'll have no problems getting a decent action.
That's exactly where mine's at right now. I've done a 4 millimeter recess in the top, and I checked it last night. My ruler sets perfectly on top of the frets and lands straight dead on top of the saddle.
Yeah, we're going to land in the same place on a lot of this. So you need to show us the back of that, well, in fact, the edge, because tell us what you've done for the recess for the jack.
Oh, yeah. I saw a video the other day talking about these guys in Ukraine called Valiant Guitars that use this type of carve on the back of their body, not only to hide the jack, but to also hide the cable when it comes out of the jack that leads perfectly up to the strap button so you can wrap the cord around your strap button. And I thought that was a pretty neat idea, so I've done that on this guitar.
That is pretty cool. I like the way that looks. I tell you what we do need to talk about now is the finishing, because you're going bold.
I am. My plan on this guitar is to bright yellow stain this entire Buckeye burl top, and I'm going to airbrush a black burst around the entire side. I'm going to let that burst fade into the edge so I do not run into a problem with covering up this beautiful black limbo that I've got on the back of this thing. And I think once I finish it, you're exactly right. It's going to be bold.
It is indeed. And I have no idea how it's going to look, because you know my proclivity for, you know, I'd need thumb screws attached before I put yellow on a guitar, because I can't see it the same way that you can. But I do have faith. And what colour hardware is going with the yellow?
Black, of course.
The Bumblebee Les Paul.
The Bumblebee, man. But I think you're probably going to go way more simple on your finish. Is that right?
I've been toying with the idea of gloss finishing it, but I don't think I'm going to. It's a fairly open grain, so I think I will do a grain filler. I'll probably use epoxy, and then I'll sand it back and do a hard wax oil finish, which I'll use for the body. But for the neck, what I'll do is to use a penetrating oil. It'll be a light reflecting, but not an image reflecting type of finish. So microcrystalline wax on top of it will be a nice way to do it.
Oh, well, I'm sure it's going to be beautiful. It always is. And that fretboard, you were right, man. I just got the first look at that thing with, you know, you sent me pictures of it, but seeing it on video, in the context of the entire build, man, that thing is just wicked.
It is so good. I'm so grateful for you for sending me that. My God, it may be the prettiest fretboard I've ever used. Okay, did you choose pickups yet?
Oh yeah, I absolutely did. I'm using a DiMarzio D-Sonic humbucker in the bridge and a PAF Pro in the neck, both black and yellow. The D-Sonic is a railed on one of the coils. It's got a rail, the other coils has 6 poles like a standard humbucker, but everything's black and yellow.
What kind of output are those pickups?
Medium high. I mean, the PAF Pro is, I think it comes in ohms wise at around that 10, 11K, but it's an Alnico 5 pickup. The D-Sonic is a little hotter than that. I think it's about 15K, and DiMarzio doesn't really rate their pickups that way. They give you an output range, like 390, with the top number being 500. The D-Sonic's a 390. The PAF Pro, if I'm not mistaken, is like a 300. Alnico 5, the D-Sonic's a ceramic pickup, which I'm not that much of a fan of, but based on the tone profile that I knew I was after on this guitar, that seemed like a pickup that I wanted to use in this guitar, you know?
Yeah, so I've gone with the bare knuckle P90s, the low outputs, the vintage voiced. I think they're coming around 7.5, 8.5K. So that is very much the sound that I'm looking to go for this one.
Yeah, and I knew you would. I mean, that was another reason why I went with these super, you know, I say super output. They're not anywhere near the hottest output pickups you can get from DiMarzio. And this will be my bridge at least. I don't know that I'll do it on the neck pickup, but my bridge pickup will be coil tapped.
Yeah, so what value are you doing for your pots and capacitors?
Both 500Ks. I'll use a 22 microfarad capacitor on this thing. I will probably do a treble bleed circuit, 3-way switchcraft. So that's pretty much what I'm using on mine. And I'm really, really debating on these choices. So I'm thinking I'm going to end up happy with it. Take us through yours, Gio, and let us know what you're planning on using. I know you're going vintage.
Yeah, I am. And in fact, I'm going right down the middle. So because I'm using those vintage voiced P90s, I'm using 300K CTS, do the 300K pots, and that's what I'm going to go with, and a 33 microfarad cap. So I think that should be the perfect ground for those pickups.
I think we both have a guitar, you know, that we can be proud of. I'm absolutely thrilled with mine. Yours is beautiful. All right, you guys, thank you so much for stopping by the channel and checking out the video. We both hope you really enjoyed it. I'll be releasing one build video for this build over on my channel, so don't forget to stop by Sweet Tea Guitars and check that out. Gio and I will be releasing the finished video and everything else we need to do to these guitars to get them done. We'll release that soon, and we'll see you guys in that video. As always, peace and love.
Important thing that we both struggled with which hell, I've got to get my words out. I should do those. What are those talking exercises that people do before they go on camera to stop them looking like a f***ing idiot?
Ma la 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 la
I gotta start doing that. I feel like an idiot every time. Let me see if I can get through a sentence.
Body, I used a 2-piece. Yes, my f***ing is something hitting the roof.
That's not doing it.
I will be releasing one video on my channel to show.
Okay, we shall talk soon.
We will, brother. Thank you. This was fun.
It always is.